Welcome
back to the podcast.
back to the Pack of Fools podcast, aka Fools Perspective, aka the official Pack of Fools podcast, aka Thrones Talk.
Yeah, I think
for the 50th time in a row.
We should be an official Game of Thrones podcast.
Should we? Because it's over.
We should be.
So then how are we going to stay in business?
It's immortal.
It's immortal. You're right. It has etched its name in history.
And onto our on-demand TV.
It's certainly there forever now, as it is. And it's perfect. Just the way it is, right?
Yep.
No complaints. And that's the end of the podcast, guys.
That's it. We just want to say how much we loved the
episode.
ending.
Yep. It was perfect. Everybody's storyline was wrapped up perfectly. Everybody's character had a beautiful arc.
Right,
it makes
neat
total
bow.
sense. Everything made total sense. And just kidding. It was fucking garbage.
It was horrible.
It was so trash. It was so disappointing. Boys, there are a lot to talk about. We didn't even cover last week's episode. So real quick, here we are. Here we are at the finale. Daenerys Targaryen has killed everyone. Everyone in King's Landing is dead. She heard some bells, and she snapped, I guess. That's the end of that.
She literally, her face was like, fuck this shit.
Yeah, I mean, Missandei's head gets lopped off. That's pretty angering.
That was sad.
That was sad.
Poor Missandei.
But kill a million people sad?
She didn't deserve that. No, it was not kill a million people sad. It was kill Cersei sad.
It was kill Cersei sad, and that episode
Say
where...
that 5 times fast.
Kill Cersei said, kill Cersei said, kill Cersei said, kill Cersei said, kill Cersei said.
Wow, that was good.
Thank you. Fucking put me on the spot like that. You made me lose my train.
Sorry.
Yeah, so the end of that episode, Daenerys is staring down all of King's Landing that has now surrendered to her, with generally no casualties.
Yeah.
None of her men died.
Right.
She wiped out all the things that could kill Drogon.
Mm-hmm.
All of them.
Yeah.
Easily.
All the I want to call it a trebuchet, but it's not.
They're
a trebuchet.
called scorpions.
It's like a giant crossbow.
Yeah. I think it is called a trebuchet, though.
No, the trebuchet is a catapult. They weren't catapults.
What the fuck? I think it's a ballista. I don't know.
Whatever.
Who cares? It doesn't matter because they all got destroyed in the matter of minutes. The entire Iron Fleet gets destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
Drogon does all the work.
Yeah.
He kills all the bad guys.
Which makes me feel like this show could have ended 2 seasons ago when
could have.
Rhaegal and Viserion were still alive.
Well, it makes you wonder why they killed off those dragons.
Yeah, like why are they dead if Drogon was so effective on his own?
Well, okay. Well, first of all, Viserion deserved to die because the Night King was an Olympic tosser.
True.
He's an Olympic javelin thrower. He's won 58 gold medals.
58?
So, well, yeah, that's because he's the Night King.
He
so
won the whole Olympics.
He's been around for a long time. No, that's over the course of many years. So, your eye roll. You were on board, and then I got you off board somehow with this ancient being. Okay. So, Viserion dying made sense in my opinion, even though last season was garbage in a whole. But
Rhaegal's death was
random and cheap. Exactly. Yeah. It was just a cheap effect. It was a cheap shock moment.
Yeah.
Because how the fuck did they not see that Iron Fleet just chilling over there?
Yeah. I don't know.
You don't have an answer for me?
I don't know because they were literally just behind a rock. It was like are you familiar with the Iliad? Like the story of the battle for Troy and stuff.
I'm familiar with it.
So like the Greeks put that Trojan the
Trojan
wooden horse and there are people hiding in it. So when they brought it in, all the men opened the gates, and the Greek fleet was hiding behind a rock, just like the Iron Fleet. It was very Homeric.
Except that the who was the defenders of Troy that got killed by the Greeks?
The Trojans.
The Trojans. What the fuck what's wrong with me? The problem with the Trojans in this scenario is they didn't have a dragon to literally hover 500 feet above in the air to 500.
Yeah.
5,000 feet in the air to see above the rocks.
All they had was a wooden horse.
And here we are with one dragon.
Yep.
By the way, real quick, I was right. Remember our one prediction we made?
No, I don't
for Game of Thrones? I don't remember yours, but I remember mine.
No, my prediction was that Cersei's pregnancy was fake news.
Oh, yes. Who cares now? But I ended up being right because I said Drogon will be alive by the end of the episode.
Yes.
By the end of the finale.
Yep.
And I was right.
Yep.
You know who wasn't alive?
Dany.
Fucking Dany. Well, I mean, we all saw that coming, right?
Yeah, we knew she was gonna die. She was toast.
She was toast from the start.
Roasty toasty.
Evil Dany. When did you know? When did you know Daenerys was probably gonna turn evil throughout the show?
I think season 8, like episode 1, season 8.
When they started very heavy-handedly showing you that she was gonna turn evil.
In the show, in the context of the show, her 5-minute character development, then yeah.
Oh, fucking rad. Because now post-show, because this is when everyone has the best theories, when it's already done.
Yeah.
They were talking about how this is my favorite argument. This is my favorite argument in defense of these last few episodes. They've been hinting at it forever. It's been foreshadowed forever because foreshadow equals quality entertainment.
I guess.
No,
she's done some fucked up things like throughout the show, but we all wanted it to happen because it was all against people we hated.
Which could be arguably one of the better lines of this final episode. Tyrion giving the speech about she burned these people and we cheered her for it. Yeah. She burned these people and we cheered her for it.
He had a great speech when he was in that room.
Yeah, well, that's the scene that went on about 15 minutes too long.
Yeah, but Tyrion has his best moments when he's locked up.
As we've noticed.
Yeah.
It's true, but then again, the last time that was the thing.
Yep.
It was under much better circumstances, writing-wise and quality-wise.
Yeah, this was all rushed.
Everything felt rushed. This whole show needed another 2 seasons.
Yeah.
And obviously, who the fuck are we at this point? I mean, it's not really our thing.
No.
It was never our show to write. So should we be happy with what we were given?
I'm happy with some of the things we were given. Like Sansa had a great ending.
Yeah, you know what? Fuck it. I don't even care about like chronological order here. Let's just talk about the end with the Starks. I think that was the best way for them all to end.
Yeah.
As unearned as it felt, because at the moment you're like, what the way we got here, I'm so upset about.
Yeah.
But as you're watching it happen, like Sansa being the Queen of the North, made sense, and I liked it. Jon Snow going back to the Night's Watch and going back with the Wildlings.
Night's Watch.
Yeah, whatever they're watching now.
Yeah, whatever they're. With the wall that's all tumbled down.
only one part of it though.
True.
Which again, in like the grand scheme of things, you're like, it's really fine. Like the wall just kind of like has one hole in it.
Yeah.
You can patch it up in like a week.
A week?
Yeah, it's fine.
700 feet high.
Get Drogon back. He'll take care of it real fast.
He breathes fire.
What, is that different?
You need the ice dragon to rebuild it.
No, we'll weld it. We'll put steel up there and he'll melt it into
okay.
like a wall.
And then cool it really quick?
Yeah.
With his fire breath?
With his ice breath. They don't have that?
No.
What was the blue dragon then? Was that also fire?
He was the blue dragon because he was a White Walker or whatever.
Oh. This is making a lot of sense. So Jon Snow going back to the Wildlings. I really liked all that. I liked how they cock-teased us last week with the fact that Jon Snow was not going to pet Ghost.
Yeah.
And then he pet Ghost in the finale.
Yeah.
As like a middle finger to the fans.
Yeah. And I noticed that Ghost was missing an ear. That was like scary.
That was from the episode before. They showed him with his missing ear as well.
Yeah, that was sad.
That's because he fought the White Walkers off screen and lost
it. We didn't get to see him lose the ear.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
CGI costs a lot of money.
For a dog to lose an ear? Hell yeah.
For a dog to lose an ear? No, they really shot wolves. Isn't that like really fucking weird?
Those are not wolves.
They really used wolves.
For the direwolves?
Yeah. To shoot.
Sansa adopted her direwolf, like in real life. Sophie Turner adopted
them. Well, no, when they were pups and really walking around and shit.
Oh,
they were husky dogs and but eventually they used real wolves on a green screen, like offset from where the actual scene was shooting. So this is the process they had to go through. They would shoot that animal for the scene, and then they'd have to block the scene around the CGI animal that's not actually there. So I guess at some point they were just like, we're fucking not doing this anymore. We're just going to kill all these motherfuckers.
Seems like a lot of work.
So in that sense, you got to go, okay, I get it. That's why they're not in it.
Yeah.
But then the other argument could be like, just make it cheaper then.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't mind it. I get it. It's fake. Like, it's not going to bother me that much if it doesn't look as good as the dragon. Because the dragons always looked good.
Yeah.
Except for that Battle of Winterfell episode where it was just covered in darkness. Yeah. So you couldn't really tell.
You couldn't really tell. But maybe that was making it cheaper. Maybe that fog was like,
oh
we're
yeah,
not really
for sure.
Try that hard.
Definitely,
with the
it definitely helped with the CGI to make that whole scene black. We're talking about the finale.
Yeah.
What else even happened?
So I didn't like Arya's ending. She was just gonna be.
You didn't like Pirate Arya?
No, like
going west.
No, I think she had such a cheap ending. Like she could have done way more. Also, Bran. Can we talk about that?
Let's talk about Arya real quick first.
No.
I want. This is the worst part though. Bran, for me, this conversation is the main event. Bran is the main event here.
All right.
So, just to finish up Arya's little thing there, she never got to use the faceless technique ever again.
Ever.
She used it once with Walder Frey, which was amazing.
We spent multiple seasons watching her become a faceless man, and then it just disappeared.
And
do you see that meme where it was like all the things that the writers forgot about?
Yeah, because of that actual line the guy said. You've seen that clip, right?
Yeah.
Where the guy goes, well, Dany sort of forgot about the Iron Fleet. What? You shot 5 scenes where they're talking about it.
Yeah.
It's amazing how much they just forgot.
Yeah.
They forgot all the shit that was happening, or they were just like, come on, they don't care, let's just move on.
Yeah. Like, Mira. What happened to Mira?
Oh, Mira Reed?
Yeah, when all
the Reeds?
When all the Northmen were summoned to fight the White Walkers.
No, her story was done. Who cares? Who cares? That's kind of what half the last couple seasons were. It was just who cares? Let's just move on to the next big plot point. They used these big spectacle plot points to keep everyone engaged.
Yeah.
But the way they got there and the character interactions in between, it just felt hollow.
Yeah.
It just felt like nothing. It felt like a completely different show. None of these characters were acting the way they usually act. They weren't saying the shit they would normally say. Because it sounded like they were saying shit that a fucking 5-year-old would say. It was the simplest, most lackluster, I guess, conversation trees that you could possibly come up with.
Yeah.
Like the fact that most of these conversations for the last 2 seasons was, do you remember that one time when I did that one thing? That was most of these last 2 seasons.
And repeating a lot of things that have already been said, like to death.
Like, you are my queen.
Yeah. You are my queen.
I
don't want it.
I saw a compilation. He says it like 10 times in the last like 3 episodes.
I'm like, does he say anything else?
Jon Snow completely lost everything. He lost every bit of his character development for the last 8 seasons. It's all gone. All the way to stabbing Dany, which was the right thing. You know, when you think of comparing it to like the Night King death.
Yeah.
This was the right direction to go.
It should have been Jon.
It had to have been Jon at that point.
He and Grey Worm should have fought.
You're standing behind that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. The lack of finding out what happens next.
Yeah.
The fact that the Unsullied just imprisoned the man that just murdered the woman that saved their lives. I
feel like in episode 8 we jumped, like there was like a time gap.
I thought we were gonna get like a 5-year jump.
Yeah.
I thought we were with the fade to black. I was like, where are we going here?
Yeah.
And it was a week later, and Jon Snow has a stubble on his face, and he's in prison.
Yeah, but like
it didn't make any sense.
Yeah, it wasn't clear.
There's no way. Everything they've shown us leading up to that shows that Grey Worm would have fucking killed him.
Yeah.
He would have just killed him.
But Jon should have been King of Westeros, King of the Andals.
Yeah, it would have made, but we needed to see that.
Yeah.
Is what I'm saying. We needed to see what happens when the Unsullied, or when Grey Worm specifically walks in, sees this blood stain on the ground. Dany's gone. Drogon's gone.
Yeah.
What the fuck happened? Apparently, Jon just goes, I did it. Just arrest me. and Grey Worm goes, he's right, arrest him. What the fuck else do you do?
I'm not going to answer.
Okay.
Sorry.
We're trying to do a podcast. Only 14 minutes in. At least wait like 58.
Yeah.
It was just so infuriating. It was infuriating. So,
it was infuriating. And I just feel like the way he killed her, too, was like, all right. It was so predictable. It was so just like...
it was cliched.
Yeah, it was a cliche.
And that's the worst part about all this, isn't it?
Yeah.
How cliched Game of Thrones became?
Yeah.
even though it was prided and hailed as this amazing,
super unique,
super unique take of the fantasy genre.
Yeah.
And we just went full circle around. The only difference being Dany being evil. Like, who would you assume to be the protagonist?
But even that wasn't done the right way.
No, and it became
comical.
Fucking comical and telegraphed.
Yeah.
Where the beginning of season 8 there was no subtlety.
Yeah.
It was she started acting evil, giving evil looks to people, and it just hurts my brain.
It does.
So much.
Did you see the scene when she's on the top of the steps after King's Landing fell, and you get the imagery with the wings when she gets off Drogon?
Oh, you didn't like that?
No, I liked that.
Okay, I was going to say, because I actually really liked that shot. That was a good shot.
But that was cool, and then...
and then she started wearing black. I pointed that out immediately. I was like, notice how she's wearing black now instead of for the last 8 seasons where she's worn bright colors.
That's one of the things I really like about this show is how the costumes develop with the characters. Like, if you notice Cersei's costumes, how they change, like, throughout the show, she starts to wear a lot more hardware, a lot more armor. She doesn't show as much. Same with Sansa. Doesn't show as much. It's, like, darker. It's leather, not silk. Like,
I found that to be more and more cliched as we went along.
No, I think it was
As the show progressed, I think it got more and more kind of cheesy.
Costumes?
Not the costumes themselves. The production design of the show is amazing. Everything about the way the show looks is amazing.
Yeah.
But concept-wise, where you go, Dany's evil now, so now she's going to wear black. That's the thing that's like, that's super cheesy. That's super cheesy.
Yeah.
Where at least keep some, like... Dany should have been wearing white in that last scene because she thinks she's the hero.
Yeah.
So why would she wear black and completely show everyone, by the way, guys, I'm the bad guy?
Yeah.
Instead, have her still think to the last fucking second where Jon stabs her, she's been doing the right thing this whole time. That's the snap that we wanted from King's Landing, her murdering everyone.
Right.
We wanted it to be a more subtle approach to being like, this is the right thing to do, as opposed to, that lady killed my friend, I'm gonna kill those people for no reason.
Yeah.
She has done nothing. Don't fucking talk to me about how Dany burned the Tarleys, or crucified the slavers or whatnot, because those were objectively bad people, and the Tarleys may not be objectively, well, the dad was objectively bad, as we all knew.
He was a dick.
But they were prisoners in a war where these people were just 5 seconds ago trying to kill her.
Yeah, and he was openly saying, you're not my queen, I'm not going to bow to you, so what is she supposed to do?
Those people in King's Landing, against all that,
surrendered.
We're like, we're done. You have it. It's yours. Which is all she wanted. Yeah. According to what the show has shown me, that's all she's wanted.
Yeah.
She has not said, oh, and by the way, Jon, if you don't fuck me, I'm going to kill all those people.
Yeah. That was, like, so... that was another thing. Like, the rejection... Like, what the rejection does to her... Like, that is so, like, basic. Like, that is, like, what your typical immature, like... annoying child of a female does when a guy doesn't want her. She acts out. She
acts out by killing a million people.
She throws a tantrum. Like, let me tell you, like, a woman scorned, like, if she had a dragon, would probably do the same thing.
Well, that's the bad mindset to have, because that's what the show did. So you're saying the show did the good did the right thing?
No, I'm saying that they didn't do right by Dany because she's not like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is, again, hilarious when you think about all the people that name their kids Khaleesi.
Yeah, fucking, first of all, that's idiotic. Khaleesi.
That's idiotic.
I can't wait to have students one day where I have to say...
Eventually you find out, you chuckle and you go, by the way. Have you seen the end of that show?
Have you seen the show? Or, like, I'll just say their name, like, Khaleesi. Like an asshole. Like Jorah.
Dead Jorah.
Yeah, Jorah.
It's a good thing he didn't see this.
Oh, that would have been heartbreaking.
Wouldn't it have been if we actually had some actual meaningful reactions to Dany's murdering of everyone instead of all of these people she's never met before?
Yeah, it's so true.
It's so weird.
And a lot of the, like, I think they, like...
That could have been good, too, where you have, like, a Jorah or even if Missandei lived and they witnessed her kill all these people, that's a more powerful moment of them seeing her become this thing.
Grey Worm did, and he didn't care.
But that's what I mean. It's stupid to
Grey
think
Worm
that.
was also, like, really upset about Missandei, so he just didn't give any fucks anymore.
Well, no shit. That's kind of, they again, telegraph that. And the Nath thing, how they pronounce it?
Nath.
Is it Nath?
Yeah.
Because it sounds like Narth when they say it with their accent.
She's English, yeah.
But
Nath.
So cheesy.
Yeah, and then,
so corny.
like, so what the fuck was the point of reaching that compromise of, okay, we're not going to kill Jon, but he has to be exiled to the wall, and then the Unsullied just leave?
Yeah, I love how Jon, this major character, had no say in his fate at the end.
Yeah.
Literally had no decision in what he was going to do.
He got emasculated at the end.
Completely.
Yeah.
The whole last season, he was Dany's bitch.
Yeah.
And then he was a prisoner.
Couldn't make up his mind. He was all in his feelings.
Yeah.
Like, he got emasculated at the end.
It was gross. It was a gross misuse of that character. And and the whole concept of, first of all, everyone agreed with what Jon did. So send the Unsullied away and then be like, hey, Jon, you can go back.
Yeah, you can go back now.
You can go back now.
Hide Jon behind the rock.
They would have never seen it coming.
Never know. And then get him back and just say, all right.
What did you think about Drogon burning down the throne?
Very symbolic.
I was just about to say that exact same word.
Very symbolic.
Super symbolic.
Full of imagery. Full of meaning.
Just powerful. Super powerful. Burning imagery.
Also annoying for me, though. Like, I wanted someone to win the Iron Throne.
Same.
Like, I wanted someone to... And not Bran. I did not.
All right. Let's talk about it.
Can we go that now?
Yeah, let's talk about it. So Jon kills Dany. Drogon burns the throne, so there's no more throne, which was a lot of people's predictions. Everybody was saying, oh, there's not going to be a throne.
I didn't expect what Drogon did, though, is to carry her off. I thought there was going to be a whole thing where, like, she was, like, shown to everybody and there was going to be a whole uproar. Like, I thought that was...
I almost like... With what we were given, yeah, probably, but if they had done the exact same thing where Drogon carried her off, and it led to something, like, where's Dany? And Jon being like, I don't know. That would have actually been something interesting, but they didn't do that. So her being carried off is obvious. Like, he's taken her back to where the Targaryens first originated.
Old Valyria.
Yeah, it's obvious. The imagery there was very obvious. So, sure. And I'm fine with that. That's completely fine. Not upset about that at all. Drogon burning down the throne.
Mm-hmm.
So, I understand that dragons are very intelligent. They're supposed to be very intelligent creatures.
Yeah.
So the idea that this dragon has the concept of this throne is the reason why she's dead. Like, her going mad over this throne is the reason why she's dead. Yeah. Therefore, I will burn this throne down.
Mm-hmm.
But not kill the guy
who killed her.
Yeah.
Plus, it's Jon. Jon's Targaryen. Targaryens don't hurt Targaryens.
So is that it? That's the explanation we're telling ourselves, and that's it.
I think that the dragons love Jon.
Okay.
I think he's their daddy.
I don't think so. I think they met him for about a week. And so maybe a little bit more time would have been good if they had a little bit more time together.
You can't fake a blood tie.
Anyways.
So
after all that,
we have another Kingsmoot.
Another Kingsmoot. They act like they've never fucking done this before. And Yara sitting there, Asha from the books, Yara, the queen of the Iron Islands, is sitting there going, this seems weird.
Yeah.
This seems oddly familiar.
Yeah.
That's what they fucking do.
Yeah.
They gather together and they go, let's pick a new one.
Yeah.
And they do, and that's what they did there. And they're acting like, this will be unprecedented. No one's ever seen this before in the kingdoms.
I think also the purpose of them all gathering there was to negotiate with the Unsullied for Jon.
Yes, and that turned into, well, we can't make a decision, and then for some reason Grey Worm is like, well, I'll pick a king, I don't care. And then I'll listen to that person. Why? Why would you listen to that person specifically over everyone that's in front? Okay, so Tyrion is in prison as well. Yeah. They're bargaining for his life as well.
Yeah. But Tyrion gets to come to the meeting, and Jon doesn't get to come to the meeting.
Because fuck him, who cares?
Yeah.
Who's Jon anyway? Who's Jon Snow?
He doesn't know anything.
He doesn't know anything. Oh my god. Don't remind me of better times. better seasons.
So we almost get. I think some of our friends have made the prediction of that it was going to be democracy at the end.
I think that was a joke.
Oh.
I think everyone kind of jokingly said that.
Yeah, but it almost was.
Then the show made a meme of themselves.
Yeah.
They actually made a joke themselves about democracy, and then they laughed it off.
Mm-hmm. Good old Sam.
I could not have cringed harder at that moment.
Yeah, I thought, this is not happening.
I could not fucking cringe harder.
I said, this isn't happening.
Yeah, please stop.
This is not...
Shut your fucking mouth. One of the probably the most legitimately funny moment of the episode was Tully, Edmure Tully.
Yeah.
Standing up and be like, well,
Uncle, sit down.
Please sit. You're embarrassing yourself. She didn't say that, but that was actually funny.
That was funny.
I actually did find that
funny. Because it was like, remember this guy?
Yeah, well.
What has he been doing this whole time?
Well, that's the idea, is no one does.
Yeah.
And when he said all that he spewed all that shit out.
Yeah.
And Sansa says that, it's to the audience saying, we know you don't know who this guy is, so don't worry about it.
Also, we got Robin, another view of Robin Arryn, who grew up nicely.
Again.
He got hot.
Yeah. All right. I was going to say, who also got no closure as a character, but...
True. But
what was the purpose of all that shit?
I'd like to assume...
I guess it does make sense. Unless you're about to say this. Go ahead.
What I'm about to say is I'd like to assume that Sir Roderick made a man out of him, and now he's... But
I guess that's a similar thing to what I was going to say.
When he voted, he kind of just went with what Sir Roderick said.
Yeah.
He was like, okay.
He still looked like a brat.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say was, I'd like to assume that in continuity-wise, the fact that he stopped breastfeeding off of his mother
had to like do something
got his body going,
yeah.
So now he actually can look good as a human being instead of
maybe
looking
ingest
sickly.
Some real food. Like
I think that was the idea. And if that was... No, they couldn't. They didn't care. What the fuck am I saying? They didn't give a shit if he looked sickly like he used to or not. They didn't give a shit.
But I had an interesting conversation with my coworkers about how Robin Arryn kind of had like a Neville Longbottom like glow up.
Yeah.
And then it actually turned into a whole conversation about how Neville was like the real hero of Harry Potter.
Yeah, I've heard that before. People have that theory a long time.
Yeah, but Robin was not the real hero.
No, he wasn't. No one knew who he was.
Yeah.
I think there was a lot of people watching that last episode going, who's that again?
Yeah.
Especially to Sir Roderick and Robin. Edmure Tully, nobody fucking remembered, I guarantee you.
There was one guy there that looked like the Blackfish, but it wasn't.
But the Blackfish died.
I know, but it looked like him.
Riverrun, yeah.
When I saw him, I was like, is that the Blackfish? Like, did he just like survive magically?
Which by the way... So the taking of Riverrun, Blackfish dies, right? Yeah. Blackfish dies there.
Well, we don't get to see him die, but it's like.
But
assumed.
you assume he dies defending the castle.
We're led to believe that he dies.
So Brienne lies in the book that she's writing in the end.
I don't remember.
Okay, so in the end, the montage end of everybody doing their closure and whatnot, Brienne writes, and this is another one of my favorite parts of this episode is all of Brienne's final moments in the show were really great, where she's knighted and now she's the I would assume the Lord Commander of the Kingsguard. I would assume. And so she's writing in that book that's been used throughout the whole show, in the early seasons at least.
Yeah, I'm just confused as to why she stays with Bran and not Sansa.
Good question.
Yeah.
maybe
got a better offer, sorry.
Maybe in honor of Jaime.
I guess.
Jaime being the
so inheriting
the
it from
Kingsguard guy.
I'm not gonna lie, when it was that scene of Tyrion digging up Cersei and Jaime,
that was really good.
It hit me right in the feels.
As awful
as they were.
As the concept
Oh.
As awful as the concept of them dying in this caved in tunnel where there's open space 10 feet away from them.
10 feet to the left.
If they had looked up, noticed the wall was crumbling, and moved, they would have lived.
Yeah.
So, in that sense, it was horrible to look at that scene. But in the cinematography and the effect of him lifting the rocks up, the emotional effect was there, and I was fine with it. So, it ended up being
that
okay.
Got me. I got a little teary.
But I don't think I'll ever forgive them for killing the Lannisters like that.
That was cheap.
But you made me lose track of what I was saying about Brienne. So in the book, she writes all of Jaime's accomplishments.
Yeah.
And one of them is, took Riverrun without any casualties.
Oh.
That's a lie.
So maybe he is out there somewhere. Unless.
No, he's definitely dead.
Unless
But
it's
I
really
think
lied.
Brienne lied, which makes her a shitty Kingsguard.
Yep. Well, she was.
Yep. You're right.
Well, it's just maybe her defending Jaime and like making him look good. Because the whole thing was like that was a whole like plot point too. Is that Jaime was like had like a page or like half a page in the book, and everybody else had like.
And called him Kingslayer, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that was yes, it was closing that chapter in a literal and figurative sense.
I love the meme. Lay's good pipe.
There's a lot of good Brienne writing in that book memes. The Mean Girls one is the one that's going around a lot.
That's such a good one. I love that one.
I like
She is a fugly slut.
Yeah, the memes that came out of this episode were better than
Top
the episode
notch.
itself. So, okay, so back to the King's Moot. Where Tyrion now has a speech. Grey Worm tells him not to speak, and then he speaks anyway, because fucking Grey Worm's a bitch, I guess. He has no balls. So Tyrion does his little speech, and he's saying stories, that's what brings the world together.
And then that's where I wanted to throw up.
Who here has the best story? And in my head, I go, Sansa, probably. Yeah. Arya, probably. More likely.
Jon Snow gets killed and brought back to life.
Jon Snow literally resurrected from death. Literally defended 3 separate castles as the commander of those attacks by himself. No, it's Bran. It's Bran. And I'm saying to myself, as this moment is progressing, Bran is my least favorite character in the entire show.
I agree.
From start to finish.
We've been saying that the whole show.
Of the books, too. So even as a book snob, I say, I fucking hate that guy. I hate reading his chapters, and I hated watching him in the show. Mm-hmm. So the worst possible choice for me, sitting there and watching that episode, the least favorite character, the least interesting, everything bad about the show, was given everything. Was created king Bran the Broken. Super appealing name to all the lords and ladies of the land that are like, that's a guy I want to follow. Bran the Broken. And everybody just goes,
it's better than the Mad King.
Yeah, but don't try. Don't try to defend this.
I agree with you. I thought it was horrible, and I thought, I was mad at Bran because I was like, I felt like that was premeditated.
Yeah. Why do you think I came all this way?
Yeah.
Which makes you think, so you wanted Dany to die.
Yeah.
You wanted all those people to die at the Battle of Winterfell.
Yeah.
You wanted Theon to die, protecting you at the Battle of Winterfell.
You knew all of this was going to go down because it was going to bring you here.
Which makes you think he's ultimately a villain.
Right. He's responsible.
But of course the show doesn't portray that. They portray him as, no, this guy's really the best.
Bran the Broken.
He's Bran, the poor little boy that fell out of tower. And now he can see shit.
Yeah.
So, Bran is made king pretty much unanimously, except for Sansa, who decides
he can't get it up.
That's what she decides.
He can't have any children.
She decides, well, this guy's penis is flaccid, so you know what?
Well, she knew that he would give her what she wanted, which is the North.
Which, again, makes it seem like, why are these people likable? Who's likable in this situation?
Listen, don't ask me.
My theory, my concept of this was, and the way I was able to go to sleep that night without wanting to,
throw up,
break my fucking fist against the wall. Bran cannot be king. He has no sense of emotion or ideas of what's right or wrong. He just knows things. And that's what the show has told me.
Yeah.
So I have no concept that this guy has any idea what the fuck is right or wrong to be a king. So what I thought in my head was, Bran is king only in name, so that Tyrion can rule as the real king of Westeros.
Tyrion, Bronn, Brienne.
Bronn coming back with basically no closure other than the fact that he's the Master of Coin.
He got Highgarden too. He's the Lord of Highgarden.
Yeah, no, we got that.
Yeah.
Anything else?
He's probably really rich.
Okay, so so he got all the money he wanted, thank God. Then the book scene where Sam puts the book down and he looks dead into the camera and goes, "It's a song of ice and fire!" Freeze frame.
Yeah.
Everybody goes. All the crowd starts clapping, and
Yeah.
the laugh track plays of the
Yep.
live audience. Fucking dumb.
Yeah,
It was
dumb.
cringeworthy. It was so fucking dumb.
Yeah, it doesn't mention Tyrion.
I don't even care. I wasn't even listening at that point, so who fucking cares? And that was it. And this is one of my favorite parts. So Bran gets wheeled in, and he sits there for all of 35 seconds.
Yeah.
Everyone's talking, and I was actually getting into the scene.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, so how do we fix this? It started feeling like a Game of Thrones for about 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Where they were talking about infrastructure and all these
Yeah.
things that we got to work on now that the world is fucking ended, and now we
Yeah.
got to bring it back. Bran rolls in, and they are explaining to him, as their fucking king, hey, these are the things we got to fix. And he goes, no, you got it. I'm going to go play with the dragon. And he spins around and wheels away. That was it. That's our king. Our first decree as king.
I'm
going to go find the dragon. Why? Nah, because I can.
Yeah, and he seems like, he might come back.
Why? Why does he feel that way? Did they explain that?
Drogon might be mad
Oh my god.
about it. He was supposed to be the little prince of Westeros.
He was supposed to be the little prince. You think Drogon burned down the throne out of vanity? Like he can't ever sit in that?
If I can't have it, nobody can. Also, Bran can't get in the Iron Throne.
That's why they burned it down! And then they build a ramp there. His wheelchair is the new Iron Throne.
They have to be handicapped accessible now.
Maybe Drogon was Bran all along, and that's why he burned
Bran
down
warged into
Drogon to
Drogon.
burn down the throne, just so that he doesn't have to sit in the
We
Iron
just
Throne.
figured it out.
Now the show is 10 times better. It was infuriating. That whole... It was like, it was as if I got spit in the face personally.
Yeah. I want to know what happened to Dario.
Again, going back to the great memes that were provided after the show.
I want to know what happened to him.
So there's a great meme I saw where he's sitting on the steps of, where the fuck was she? Marine. And where Dany was just sitting on the steps. It's a picture and the caption is, geez, I wonder how Dany's war is going over there. I guess I'd imagine that's about it. That's about what he's doing. Yeah, there was no wrap up on all these side plots and all these other things.
Yeah, and I just find it really hard to believe that the Unsullied and the Dothraki just took the L and
just left. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't believe it for a second.
Yeah.
I don't believe the Dothraki would give up like that.
Yeah.
I don't believe the Unsullied would give up like that. I don't believe for a second. Still, I don't believe the Unsullied would have just let Jon go.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. That scene didn't make sense. The cut didn't make sense because why imprison this guy?
Yeah.
You have shown that all of these traitors die. Regardless, they fucking die brutally.
Yeah.
Why is Jon Snow any different? It's not like you liked him very much.
Yeah.
It didn't make any sense.
It didn't.
It was just fucking bullshit.
What else happened? What else do we need
know.
to talk about?
I don't even know. The Lannister, like I said, the Lannister storyline was garbage the way it ended.
Yeah. Oh, I know what we could talk about. How'd you like the fight between the Hound and the Mountain?
Oh yes, that was nice. It was a shining moment in a big pile of shit.
Mm-hmm.
It was
that was the best part.
Yeah, it was a moment where you go, yeah, I wanted this.
My favorite part where he was like, "Fucking die!"
Yeah. He was the Hound all the way to the end.
Yeah.
With the exception of a couple poor choices over the last season. Those last moments where the Hound is going up the stairs and he's like, I'm gonna go die now.
Yeah.
Because I need to go kill that motherfucker.
Yeah.
That's the most Hound thing I could probably imagine.
Mm-hmm.
His final moments with Arya were lame.
Yeah.
Her super over dramatic, overacted. Thank you.
Sandor.
Sandor. Thank you. He turns around and he goes, I've never heard that name. They share a longing look. And she runs away.
She bitched out. She
completely bitched out.
Cersei was on her list. What the fuck?
And by the way, if she had waited there 5 more seconds,
she would have
killed Cersei.
Cersei would have came down
right in front of her face, and she would have still had plenty of time to get away. And by the way, the Red Keep was still fucking standing.
Yeah.
At the end of all this shit, the Red Keep was the safest place to be.
Yep. I mean, except
they paid no fucking attention to what they were doing.
Except where Cersei and Jaime went in that one spot.
In that one spot in that huge cave.
Yeah.
That's where the rocks fell.
Yep.
And they didn't even shoot it that way.
Yeah.
If you watch the shot, it's the rocks are crumbling forward towards them.
Yeah.
Like the whole thing is caving in.
Yeah.
No, it was just that one spot.
Yeah. It was like a rainfall
Of death.
in that one spot.
And was Cersei pregnant? I guess we'll never know.
We'll never know.
Who cares?
I mean, she said when she was about to die that she didn't want her baby to die. So I was like, fuck.
Yeah, I mean, that was good because it, in a better scene, in a better build-up, that's a really great turnaround for that character to finally come around and kind of sympathize with, like, oh, she knows she's done. Like,
yeah.
she's gone all this way, she's done all of this work, and now she's finally done. In a better world, in a better show, in a better series, in a better ending,
that would have happened.
it would have felt better watching that scene play out. But that's all we got. We got rocks crumbling.
I thoroughly enjoyed... Sorry, I said that away from the mic.
You thoroughly enjoyed?
I thoroughly enjoyed Euron and
Are we trying to
Jaime.
talk about what we like now?
Yeah.
Okay. I respect that.
I am. I loved Jaime and Euron's fight. I thought that was awesome.
I think you are one in a billion.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought that was cool.
I thought it was so fucking random, and it made no goddamn sense.
I was confused about how Euron just, like, swam up.
Yeah, his survival of the dragon fire was one thing. I could live with it only because Davos survived the wildfire explosion in the second season.
But the fact that he swam up.
Yeah, swam all the way, and he was perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Perfectly fightable.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that it's
fight.
Euron...
Yeah, I enjoyed the fight.
Okay, yeah. The way it was shot and the choreography of it, is that what you're saying?
I thought it was an enjoyable fight.
Okay.
Also, it was very satisfying watching Euron just, like, die painfully. But I also didn't understand.
He looked like he died painfully. He looked like he died pretty happy, actually.
Yeah, but
he died with a literal smile on his face.
Yeah, but Jaime, like, really, like, dug that sword into his
No,
butt.
I get that, but he died the way it looked like he wanted
Another
to die.
king for you.
Yeah, exactly. He looked like he died pretty happily.
But I also didn't understand how literally Euron stabbed Jaime. He had to have punctured his lung, and then Jaime just somehow, like, makes it all the way. Still through
and
the castle.
he seemed fine.
Yeah.
In those last moments.
But he
with
had
Cersei.
to have punctured his lung.
Yeah. Well, the assumption being with that line, he was gonna die regardless.
Yeah. You're bleeding.
I just don't. It's so what do we get with Yara? Where's her closure?
Nothing. She just went.
She gets
Theon,
nothing.
When Theon says 3 episodes ago, she went back to reclaim the Iron Islands now that Euron's in King's Landing.
And she did it.
She did it.
She got it.
Yep. And then she went to the King's Moot.
What about the guy that took it from her?
She went to the King's Moot, said not one thing.
Well, no, she shat on Jon, and then Arya was like, "I'll fucking kill you." And that was it.
True. And then she said,
Why didn't Yara ask for her own kingdom?
Didn't she get it?
No. The 7 kingdoms includes the Iron Islands. Of course it does.
It does?
Of course it does. That's the whole point of Balon's rebellion.
Please hold. The North.
Please hold.
The North.
Doing math.
The Reach.
Yes.
King's Landing.
I guess that would be considered one of them, yeah.
Please hold.
Dorne.
The West. The Westerlands. The River Run.
And
The Iron Islands.
Thank you. Okay. Anyway. Yeah. So Sansa goes, I want my own kingdom. Bran's like, all right. So what about Yara? Didn't the Greyjoys, wasn't that their purpose this whole show?
Maybe she didn't want to be, that was Balon's purpose the whole show, but then I think...
She seemed pretty fucking for it.
Yeah, but then once he died and Yara went through all that shit, maybe she's done.
And you don't think maybe a line? Maybe some sort of dialogue, perhaps?
I don't...
Of describing what their thoughts are on these situations, rather than, hey, remember that one time I went to that place and I did that thing? You were there, remember? That's 90% of the dialogue the last 2 seasons.
Oh my god. I just keep thinking of John. You're my queen.
Yeah, that about fucking sums it up. That's about...
She is our queen. Keeps changing the pronoun. What else? What else, Zach?
What else is there to talk about? The Night King was a bust. Maybe we can talk about, I guess, the comparison to the books at this point, because...
No, I don't want to talk about that because it's been forever since I've read the books.
No, I mean like the end.
You're reading them now.
I mean the end. The idea that this ending that we got is probably going to be similar to the one we're going to get in the books.
Yeah, I mean, because George R. R. Martin probably just wanted to see where they were going to take it, and then...
He saw the fucking dumpster fire that they lit in front of his face.
Maybe he'll do a better job.
I don't think he's going to rewrite it. I think, it's going to be the same, but the build-up's going to be better, for sure. It has to be, because it's books.
Right, but the story in the books and where we end up in the show, like, it completely deviated. So how is he going to make the ending?
It can still come back around. It's just the war with the fucking dead has to still happen, obviously.
Yeah.
And where that is in the last book, I don't know. Even if it is, it might be Winds of Winter.
How far are you?
Of rereading it? I'm like halfway done with the first one. I don't read very fast like you do.
Sorry.
But the point is, I'm 100% certain Danny's turning evil in the books. I'm certain he's going to do that. I'm certain that Arya will not kill the Night King in the books. I'm certain that was a choice the showrunners made, not him.
So who's gonna Jon?
It has to be.
I hope Jon kills the Night King in the book because that was
her
horrible.
Killing the Night King was a really awesome moment.
It was a cool
It was
scene.
a fist pumping moment.
She didn't deserve
but
it.
the second you think about it, and you go, but what did she mean to him? And what did the Night King mean to Arya?
She was the most uninvolved with that whole
storyline
of the whole show. She was in Easteros.
Easteros, right? Westeros and Easteros. And now she's going to Westeros. I think Arya could have killed the Night King in a better way.
Yeah.
Like, if they had done it maybe in a better fashion, maybe we'd actually look back on it more fondly. For example, using her fucking faceless ability.
Yeah.
Coming out as Bran, maybe, and stabbing him right in the... just imagine the reaction.
That would have been
where
epic.
The Night King is walking up, he reaches up for the thing, and then Bran fucking stands up right in front of his face, and the whole audience goes, what the fuck?
The audible...
Yeah, exactly. But then... He stabs the Night King, and everybody's watching it going, what the fuck just happened? And then she rips off the face. That would have been...
We just wrote episode 3 way better.
That ending is 10 times better immediately, where she finally uses that ability.
Then you can forgive the writers for making that plot come to an end.
Yeah, for making
for making that plot end episode 3.
Well, no. I think that's an opinion.
No, I think that should have been the end game.
I know. We agree on this.
Yeah.
The fashion in which Arya kills the Night King doesn't change my opinion that the Night King should have been the final villain.
Yeah, that's what I just said.
In my opinion, should have always been the way it ended.
Yeah.
But I'm starting to get the idea that maybe the books don't end that way either, which is upsetting me. Like, the way the show has ended is now upsetting me, thinking about what I'm going to read in the books. Because now I know what the major beats are going to be, where I feel like it's going to be the same, where I think maybe the Winds of Winter is going to be the Night King battle, and then the Dream of Spring is going to be the final bit where we saw in this last season.
Just the 2 more, right? That's it?
Yeah, he's just writing the 2 more. Apparently, Winds of Winter is supposed to be next year.
I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah, well, that's what everyone's saying.
Yeah.
But he's saying he's designated himself. He needs to have that next book done next year.
He's going to die soon. He should be on my 600-pound life.
Wow, that was rough. That was really sad.
It's not healthy to be that overweight.
You should tell him.
It's not healthy.
But when that mind is just so strong, he knows some shit.
Does it just not count if you're smart?
No, of course not. Isn't that how it works? If
No.
you're fat but you have really smart intellect of books, writing books?
I got 2 really good recommendations for a similar kind of like fantasy universe series that I'm gonna read, and then I'm gonna tell you what I think. But because I need another now that Game of Thrones is over.
Well, what are you doing? Because I know that actually Game of Thrones, not Game of Thrones, HBO just opted for a couple fantasy series, and
I'm gonna read the Sword of Truth series
never heard of it.
and Wheel of Time.
Never heard of that one either. Okay, never mind.
Okay.
But they're doing another Game of Thrones-esque fantasy series on HBO soon with James McAvoy and stuff like that.
We have to watch the documentary this Sunday on the making of season.
Yes, I'm definitely gonna watch that. I've been watching the past couple like
inside the episode thing.
Fuck those guys. I don't like hearing them talk.
Okay.
But the big production, like the 45-minute episodes on YouTube where they show like the making of the whole episode, that shit's awesome.
Yeah.
Watching those people put that shit together. If you don't think the show looks good, you're a fucking idiot.
It's an amazing show.
It looks amazing, and all the effort everybody puts in that show is amazing. And that's why, and this is, of course, the way we need to end this conversation, the coffee cup scandal or whatever, and the water bottle bullshit, I don't care. These people did such a fucking incredible job making this show come to life for all these years.
Yeah.
And a couple mistakes, yes, one of them more egregious than the other with the coffee cup. But when you look at it in a grand scheme of things, people make fucking mistakes. And shows make mistakes all the time.
And the only reason that we're even talking about it is because this season has
been it was bad.
So scrutinized and so judged and so just like picked apart. I'm sure there were coffee cups and water bottles all over 1 through 6.
Yeah, like exactly.
And no one noticed.
I think HBO, maybe not HBO specifically, but I think people pointed out like, hey, remember the first season, the one that you liked? Look at this boom operator standing there. Like they pointed out shit from the first seasons as well. It happens all the time in every show, in every movie you've ever seen. Mm-hmm. There are mistakes all the time. Human error exists. Yeah. Sorry, get over it.
Yeah.
When the show sucks, though, surrounding it, that's when people start nitpicking and start grabbing. Speaking of nitpicking, what the fuck was the point of that horse? What the fuck was the point of that horse? She comes out of the ashes. I'm talking about Arya.
Yeah.
Arya coming out of the ashes of Dany's destruction, and there's one random white horse just standing there because I guess Arya was death, even though she wasn't. She didn't kill Dany or do anything.
No.
She gets on the horse. The next episode starts. The fucking horse is gone.
Yep.
What was the point?
Nope.
What was the point of the horse?
I feel like the horse...
Why was the horse there? Why was the horse there? Go ahead.
The beginning of the episode shows the head of the Golden Company on a white horse.
You think it was his horse?
I thought it was his horse.
What did that mean?
I don't know.
What was the symbolism behind it?
It was like a bookend. Like, we started with the horse, so now we're going to end with the horse. Because when I saw that, they really focused on the leader of the Golden Company, and I thought it was, like, meaningful, and I was like, what the fuck is this guy? And I almost
like that because of the oncoming slaughter that happens right after. Like, they build up the Golden Company to look like these big badasses.
But then they did it again.
They
focused on that woman and her child.
And then they wiped them out,
and then they died. And I don't get it.
Why did it have to be Arya? Arya should not have been in that city.
No.
I'm just going to stand by that.
No.
She should not have been there.
Nope.
Her running around was garbage, stupid, didn't make sense.
Yeah, and unnecessary stress. But
stress? Come on. You didn't think she was actually going to die. No way. No way.
I don't know.
After the 3rd time she got knocked out and got back up, I'm like, all right, let's wrap this part of this.
Well, that's when I was like, okay. But in the beginning, I was nervous.
Bless you. Kaylin's allergic to garbage television. Well, speaking of garbage television, let's bookend this conversation by...
Not with a horse.
Not with a horse. Because guess what? The horse would have come back next episode if we did that. Because I'm a stickler for continuity. Let's just quickly review the show. Not review, but let's score the show as a whole.
Okay.
Because as you said before we started this podcast, you don't like the show anymore because of the way it ended. And I said, I said to save it for I was going to save it for the podcast, so here it is. That's a little bit of an overreaction.
Maybe I'll feel differently in like a couple weeks when I've gotten over it, but like I'm so pissed off at this show because it was a great show. And I feel like the ending is so important, right? Like,
you're absolutely right.
The way you end the show, like this show's been on for years. Like I feel like I've wasted these past years of my life.
Wow.
I
That's hefty.
literally feel anger that, like, I'm not going to get that time back. I'm not going to get that. I could have been thinking about other stuff. Like, you know, when I was doing my master's, like, I should have been studying, but I was watching Game of Thrones. Like,
trying to figure out what was going to happen next.
Yeah.
To then to get this.
I'm not kidding. I rewatched the show probably 3 times.
Wow. Okay, well, I disagree. So, I disagree because when most of the show is good, because I've watched so much television in my life. Yeah. I've seen so many different TV shows, and I obviously have my standards. I have my Breaking Bad, the perfect show. The show from start to finish does not have one single bad moment. Don't give me that look. It's the greatest show of all time.
Okay.
And then you go down to the next thing, which in my opinion is Game of Thrones.
Okay.
And in Game of Thrones, in that world, maybe not the perfect show. There are boring moments. There are moments where you're like, why did that happen? There are moments that deviate from the books that they shouldn't have. There are moments that, at the end of the day, probably turned out to be pointless, like most of season 8.
Yeah.
But Game of Thrones, and I'm going to say this, and and you're probably going to disagree with me, Game of Thrones at its worst is still better than 90% of television.
I mean,
I don't think shows are as good as Game of Thrones.
No.
Or even in the same league as Game of Thrones.
It's something special.
So
it's definitely, like, I feel like when we're older, like when we have kids who are teenagers, early 20s, this is going to be a historical thing.
Oh, yeah. People are going to talk about the show forever.
Yeah, this is going to be a historical thing, and I feel privileged that we got to watch it.
Yeah, this is almost our Sopranos, if you think about it.
Yeah. This show is going to definitely go down in history. It's, like, you know, broken all these records with, you know, viewers and all of that, and just like the talk about it. Like, no one talks about a show like they've talked about this show.
Mm-hmm.
And it really just, you either love it or you hate it. There's no in between, right? You can't just casually watch Game of Thrones.
Yeah, the people that watch it.
Yeah.
You either love it, you hate it, or you don't watch it.
Yeah.
There's no people that are like, oh, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
There's the people that love it. There's the people that now fucking hate it, and then there's the people that have never seen it one episode.
Yeah, and I just feel really let down, I guess is how I feel.
And I guess from my perspective, the show just doesn't meet its own standards anymore. But that is to say, in my opinion, it's still better to watch than most shows I've ever seen. Because when shows, and you've never seen this, but this is going to be the first example that popped in my head. Dexter.
I've heard of it.
Dexter has...
It's about a murderer, right?
Yes, a serial killer who kills serial killers.
Yeah.
Dexter has 2 good seasons, and it has 7 seasons. That show's 2 seasons are amazing. It's 2 best seasons. It has 1 decent one, and then the rest are garbage. It's 2 seasons that are great, are so goddamn good. That show left such an impression on me. I'm like, you know what? That show is pretty good. But its bad seasons were really fucking bad. Game of Thrones, I can look back and go, those last 2 seasons were kind of rough. But for the better part of the last 5 years of my life, I've loved this thing. This thing has been so great most of the time that I can't fault its final 2 seasons for rushing it, because the decisions they made in a grander, longer 2 seasons, I think we would have been fine with it. Like, the people that are shouting at the 2 writers, who I'm pretty fucking frustrated with as well.
David Benioff and D.B. Weiss.
Yeah. The people that are shouting at them for ruining it, yes, they kind of did. But don't forget that these are the same guys that did the good shit, too.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
With more time given to them, I think they would have landed it well.
I disagree with, like, there's a petition going around for a redo. Yeah. Like, I think that's garbage. Like,
of course it is.
That would just ruin it. That would ruin it.
There's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
Get over it, is what I say to those people. Because what the fuck is going to change at this point?
Yeah.
You know that they did exactly... Not exactly. They did the thing that George told them was going to happen.
Yeah.
They got there the way they got there.
Yeah.
That's it. That's what you got. Now you accept it or you don't, and you move on with your life. But again, also to those people, I say read the books.
Yeah.
If you're upset with the way the show ended it because they wanted to go film Star Wars movies, fine. go read the books because the books will satisfy you even without the last 2 books being out.
You really believe that's the reason it ended like this?
Yes.
So quickly?
I 100%
for
believe
Star Wars?
Yeah, because they
that's
insane. HBO and George R. R. Martin himself wanted like 12 seasons. They told HBO we're done at 7 or 8 or 7. I think it was 7, and then they convinced them to do 8. But then they said, okay, but we're only doing 13 for the final 2 seasons. And HBO was like, well, how about 10 for the 2 final seasons? And they stuck their ground. They said 13 episodes, 7 and 7 for 7, 6 for 8. Right after this season premiered, I think, it was announced. It was been rumored for a long time, but it was officially announced that they were signed on for 3 Star Wars movies with Disney.
How do you give up Game of Thrones for that? Not that I don't like Star Wars, and I've recently, have become a Star Wars fan, but like, how do you throw away a show like that? How do you do it dirty like that?
There's a couple ways to think about it. The one is to think about it where they're assholes and they just wanted the money, the big fat Disney money. Or, and this is the way I want to think about it because I want to look at the best of people, this show has engulfed their lives for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
These guys have not done anything else since this show has started. And I think they wanted to move on. They just wanted to do other things. And being the showrunners, you can't just pass it off to somebody else that doesn't know what they're doing. Mm-hmm. So HBO had to listen to these demands, basically, because they're the ones that were going to be able to bring it home. So you can choose to look at it one way or the other, but at the end of the day, logistically, things kind of lined up too coincidentally where, hey, we're done with Game of Thrones, now we're going to go shoot Star Wars.
That makes me sad. I mean, I'm excited for Star Wars to come out and everything, and like, the new trailer looks...
Yeah, well, this movie has nothing to do with them. They're doing another trilogy.
The new trailer looks really good for the new movie.
And you know me, I love Star Wars.
That'll be another exciting thing to look forward to, but like, I don't know. I think that sucks. I think that's a shame.
It sucks, but even one more. Maybe not 12 like George wanted. Maybe not 2 sets of 10.
We should have had full season 7, a full season 8, and a full season 9.
I disagree. I think a full season 7 and a full season 8, you could have brought it home.
Even just with the extra, 5 episodes?
That's 8 extra episodes.
8 extra?
That's 7 extra episodes. 3 extra for season 7 and 4 extra for season 8. I think with those 7 extra episodes, those hours, and then for season fucking 8, do an hour and a half every episode.
Yeah.
Just put as much of that shit as you can in there.
Yeah.
Start the Dany turn in season 7.
Yeah.
You start it there, and for 2 seasons, and for a full season, you build it.
Build it up.
For all 10 episodes of season 7, you build the Dany snap.
Yeah.
The season 7 finale, Dany burns down King's Landing.
Now,
all of season 8, you have the aftermath. You have the fallout. You have Dany ruling with an iron fist. You have Dany becoming the tyrant. Her people sees her as more of a tyrant, and she is now the Mad Queen. And you see how they work around it. Either try to follow her, because for the last 7 seasons, you're like, well, it's Dany. She has to be the good guy, so we're following the good guy, right? And then that whole season is them turning and going, no, this bitch is evil, and we have to take care of her.
Yeah.
I think with that being the concept of the final 2 seasons, we could have gotten something special.
Yeah. We could have made history.
Stay tuned for my rewritten season 8. I'm actually working on how I would have turned Dany.
Really?
Like, I don't want to call it a novel, but I'm writing a lot.
A character development.
Yeah, I'm writing in my own phone in my little notes page. I'm writing a whole article how I would have turned her evil. We'll see what I get out of it.
We'll be interested to read it.
Maybe I'll read it on the podcast.
Yeah, you can do a little audio reading
of my article.
Of your article
that I wrote. And only for my own sake of because I don't want to bitch but not have anything better to replace it with. Because I don't want to be one of those people that's like, that fucking sucked, and somebody says why, and you go, I don't know, it just sucked. I want to justify my own reasons. So I'm researching the last couple seasons, and I'm trying to figure out what I would have done differently, what I might have added. But at the end of the day, and this would have never happened, I would have added more episodes.
Yeah.
So in a perfect world where there's more episodes, I wouldn't need to replace it with anything because I feel like they would have handled it well enough. I think they would have been able to take care of it. But with that being said, Game of Thrones as a whole, rank it out of 10. Go ahead.
8.
An 8 out of 10? That finale knocked down 2 whole points for you? Wow.
The season knocked down 2 whole points for me. Except for the
okay, I'll give you that
3.
much.
Episode 3 was awesome.
I like halfway disagree with that. But I think the last 2 seasons being
production-wise, it was awesome.
Yeah. Again, I
Just
love
dark.
everything about how
Just
it looks.
a little dark.
Just a little bit on the darker side. Turn up that saturation a little bit. I think the fact that character development wise this season was such an atrocity, and
2 whole points.
me wanting satisfaction from that Night King storyline and being shat on, that kind of knocks down a big full point.
So you give it a 9?
Past that, with all the other garbage,
8.5.
we're looking at maybe like an 8.5. Yeah. I don't think an 80%. I don't think is just for Game of Thrones.
So an 85 is good.
No, it's to get off the fence. A 9 out of 10 I think is right.
More accurate.
It's just for what the show's accomplished. The way, again, even to its bitter final end, it still looked amazing. They still managed to make it look amazing. Every actor, even though they were handed garbage to read, they still acted the shit out of every scene. Everyone looked amazing. And the big moments, again, you've got to pull yourself out of your immediate frustration and think about it. Yeah, it does make sense that the show went the way it did. Dany turning evil, as much as it fucking angers me, I even justified Bran being king.
Yeah.
I justified in my head Tyrion being Hand, Jon going back to the Watch, all this stuff. I justified all of it, and I said, that's fine.
I just think that Kingsmoot wasn't enough of a perspective on, like, the entire kingdom.
There was no kingdom anymore.
Yeah.
It was
so
Winterfell and
we were
King's
all
Landing.
focused on those, and I didn't appreciate that because throughout the show we needed those.
That's what I mean. One more
other
season.
Characters, yeah.
One full final season of Dany being that tyrant that we were building her up to be would have made it all feel more right.
Coulda, shoulda, woulda. It's all a moot point now. Pardon the pun. Get it? Kingsmoot.
Who cares? It's all fake anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Time travel's not real.
Time travel is not real, don't forget. And time for our Avengers Force.
Game of Thrones. Aww.
The fuck are we gonna do now?
I don't know.
What do we have to look forward to?
Star Wars?
Do you want to do a Star Wars prediction? I don't think.
I have to rewatch the movie.
I don't think you want to.
I'm not familiar enough yet.
All right, Kaylin's homework.
Rewatch all the
Rewatch
Star Wars.
all Star Wars, including the last 2 movies, and
I'm gonna watch it in production order this time.
Wow.
I was shown them in sequential order, if you recall.
Garbage. I was so upset about that. I remember you telling me that you were convinced to doing that. We'll say, not a fan. Big mistake. The original's far superior. We're getting off track.
I mean, I like the Anakin Padme story.
No, you don't.
I do like it.
No, you don't.
Yeah,
You really don't.
All right.
No, you don't. You're telling yourself that, but you really don't. It's garbage.
Thanks for listening.
Go ahead, Kaylin. Close out the show.
Take us home. Tune in next week
for something.
Pack of Fools, aka Fool's Perspective. Topic unknown.
TBD. I'm Zach.
I'm Kaylin. Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.